Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're doing our first project in the new boat. We're sitting here in the garage. I think what I want to do is try to build some kind of rod storage organizer for this left front compartment here. What I did is I bought some of this high density plastic. It's pretty easy to work with. It's kind of like working with wood. And what I want to do is drill some holes in it for some rods to sit against and kind of keep them up off the floor. The challenge is going to be figuring out how to secure it in there. What I don't want to do is drill into it. I'm pretty sure the bottom of the compartments is pretty much sitting on the hull of the boat. So I don't want to drill anything in there, obviously. I'm going to somehow try to figure out how maybe to build like a freestanding piece that has some holes in it to hold the rods up, and then maybe it can even be removable. I can pull it out and put it back in. So I'm going to try to come up with something that works and see what we can do. So this is what my rod locker normally looks like. I certainly don't have like a full, arsenal of 30 or 40 rods in there, but I think I have about 8. And it's still challenging to get to the one at the bottom. You got to dig through them, and I've been trying my best to keep them separate with the rod socks, and I even got the reel covers on there. But it'd be nice if I could put the butt of this rod into something and hold it up and maybe have a couple rows of rods. So I'm gonna pull those out of there and see what we can come up with. So my idea is to have this maybe sitting in here at an angle with something supporting the back, and then have slots or holes along this evenly spaced, to fit maybe 8 rods or 10 rods up off the ground. So I need to maybe fit it so that it sits at an angle like this, and then I need to come up with something or some way to brace the back. So it's kind of going to sit like an A-frame. And hopefully it won't fall over and it will stay in there fairly securely, but will not require it to be mounted anywhere. At least that's the hope. So let's see what we can do. Alright, so here's the compartment empty. And what I did was went ahead and cut out a piece of cardboard, same size as my piece of plastic. So I'm going to try to get a dry fit here and cut this down to get a nice template for exactly the contours of that compartment. And then hopefully if I get a good fit, we'll go ahead and transfer that to the plastic and be able to cut the plastic perfect. Alright, so I went ahead and cut as best I could the angle to match the outside inner angle of this compartment, and I'm going to end up, I think, with this right about here, if you can see that. So I think that's where I want it to be. Of course it's going to have to sit more like that. I think that's the way I want it. So it'll sit just about at this angle. Now I just have to figure out how to brace it on the back. Well, these are the scraps that I cut off so far. So these will be the scraps that I have from my reel piece. So I'm wondering if I could use this to come back here and provide some support. It's worth a try. Worst case, I could probably buy another sheet of that plastic. That was about $30 to give myself more material to build a back half to rest on. But let's see what we can do. So here's how our piece turned out. And it fits pretty well exactly where I want it, I think. It wedges pretty good in there. I don't want it to fall forward. So I think I am going to try to attach the scrap piece. All right, here's the piece I cut off. So let's see if I maybe angle that a bit more. So maybe if I angle that just a bit better. Maybe I could glue it to the back, and then that could provide some support and maybe even enough weight to keep it from moving forward at all. All right, I got my adjusted angle cut, and it lines up pretty well right there against the back. There we go. So that's what we're going for, and I did kind of off-center it a little bit more towards the left here, since this side is kind of leaning against this little bump out in the inside of the compartment. So I think I'm gonna try to attach it right there with some I don't know, I need to see what kind of adhesive I have that would work well with this plastic. But before we do any attaching, I should probably cut out my holes, which means I should mark where this is going to go so I don't end up cutting a hole right where it is. And then we can drill some holes. I was playing around more with the placement of this support little piece back here, and I realized if I pushed it up against the other wall of the compartment and just put it flush against this bigger piece, it does fit pretty well right there. I'm thinking I'll probably actually attach it over there. Alright, so I have this piece traced, so I know exactly where that's going to go. So we'll get it out of the way. And what I want to do next is design where I'm going to drill the holes for the butts of the rods. So I'm using, what size is this? It looks like it's this size. I'm not sure what diameter that is. Hold on, I'll check. Duh, it tells you right there. That's a 2 1/4 inch hole. So I think that's sufficient. I need to play around with the layout and see how many I can fit, how many I can fit comfortably. And I really think I'm only going to do 2 rows. Although really, I mean, you could probably fit 3 rows. But I need to play with the layout and see how many I want to fit in here. All right, we got her sanded down pretty good. I'm going to try to glue on my back support now. Well, I think I'm going to give this a try. This is just heavy duty construction adhesive. Not positive if it's going to work well on this high density plastic, but let's give it a try. Okay, glue's dry on the little back support. It looks kind of dumb, I'll give you that. It does look kind of dumb. But hey, if it stays up and it holds my rods, then I'm good with it. Let's go see how it fits in the boat. Let's put some rods in and see how it goes. I'm happy with that. Spaces them out just a little bit. I kind of thought I was going to have to turn, let these sit sideways on top of the ones below, because there just isn't enough clearance because of, the spinning reels underneath the, the rod, but that's cool. And then you can, lift this up to get to a rod that's underneath. For the most part, I'm probably going to keep the rods that I use the most on top. Seems like that makes the most sense, but cool, I'm happy with that. All right, guys, change of plans. Even from me just moving rods around and moving this organizer around in the rod locker, the construction adhesive I used was starting to give way, and this was wobbling, so it just wasn't going to work. So I ended up scraping the glue off, peeling it off, and I pre-drilled a couple holes, and it just ended up using some screws. So that ended up being the much better case, or being much more effective. And the other thing that I did was I ended up cutting a slight angle on this support, because the actual rod locker is actually tapered on the side, so I kind of matched that angle a little better, so that it wasn't getting in the way, and this would actually sit facing the front of the boat as opposed to being slightly askew. So that seems to fit better, and then the screws hold this much better. This isn't going anywhere now. So probably should have done that from the beginning, but hey, there we go. Hopefully if you're gonna do something similar, you learn from me and just use the screws.